Hello, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Joe Monroe Show, which this month we are going to be talking about and highlighting a lot of podcasters for our Podcasters Appreciation Month. This is actually, I've been losing count. That is my bad. We are on episode 8 tonight, and tonight's going to be a great episode, and we'll introduce our special guest here in just a moment. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and get some sponsor shout outs here. And for number one, we got Phenomenal Finds ATL. If you're looking for anything retro like pro wrestling, Rugrats, anything like that, check out phenomenalfindsatl.com. They may have it for you, as well as our partners and sponsors, Triple Crown Wrestling and Ultimate Championship Wrestling, as they are bringing back professional wrestling as it should be to the great state of Kentucky. And also our sponsor, Les Murphy Painting. If you're needing anything for your painting needs, or if you're having a little bit of trouble painting, whether to be inside or outside, contact Les Murphy at 734-334-3702. And cuckoo cachoo, look, it's Wilson the Walrus. All right, that's enough airtime for him. Okay, my guest tonight is a fellow Kentuckian himself. He is the host, the founder of the Final Count Wrestling Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Ryan Mosley. Ryan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm really excited for this. I've been looking forward to it ever since we kind of got pen to paper, I guess.
Well, yeah, I have the list. I may release it later. It's definitely getting saved because that's a huge freaking list. Yeah, I think we have up to 16 so far total people. So you're lucky number 8 tonight. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you and your show. So let me go ahead and we'll get you a solo layout here. That way we can go ahead and spotlight you. And we'll start off with some round questions. First and foremost, generic question here. What got you loving professional wrestling?
Oh, my goodness. So this goes back to the earliest I can remember. So I'm a 90s baby. I was actually born in 1990. If that tells you my age. But so no, my father actually got me into wrestling. And so I grew up from, I believe around my earliest memories of wrestling was around age 6 or 7. And just, I remember, I don't remember how I found it on TV or anything. But I believe my dad was the one who got me into it. I remember he took me to a Raw here in Louisville, where I live, and I remember I was hooked from then basically, and I'd watch it on TV on Saturdays and everything. I forget the name of I think it was Livewire. It was WWF at the time, now WWE, but I think it was called like Livewire or Shotgun Saturday Morning or something like that. But yeah, that's since at least the age of 7.
Okay, yeah, that's usually that's around the time I believe, like 5, 6, 7. That's when I started loving professional wrestling too. But what made you want to do the Final Count? First, it's kick-ass name, by the way, and second, how did you come up with the name, and what made you start the show?
So, I guess the name, I just really like the referee in wrestling, and I always kind of wanted to be a referee when I wanted to get into wrestling. I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't want to wrestle because I did, but then I also was like, well, I don't know if I could do the wrestling, and so I think I could do refereeing, be a referee. And so I was like, I actually had a little bit of training at one point. It didn't last too long, but to be a ref up in Indiana for a promotion. But like I said, it didn't last too long, so I won't name who or where. But I just the name, the Final Count. I was like, every match in wrestling, typically, unless it's like a disqualification or something, you have that final count that's gonna just end. That's gonna end the match. It's gonna that once that 1, 2, 3 hits, And once that referee gets to three, that's the final count. And so that's where the name basically came from. Just knowing that that's how the match ends is there's a final count. Um, and then wanting to start the show. So I had a friend of mine growing up. We were the best of friends, pretty much. And we went to OVW. We would go to OVW shows. I went to OVW shows um, starting in October of 2004. Um, and I still go to OVW shows to this day. Well, my buddy of mine, he had started a uh, online radio show and talking about wrestling. It was called The Dark Match. Um, and there used to be, you could used to find it for a while. Now you can't even find any of the past episodes or anything. Um, I don't know what happened with all that, but it was on Blog Talk Radio. And every once in a while I would come on there, and because he would have, like, you could call in to the show. And so I would, he would every once in a while have me call in and be like, let's talk OVW, and we would discuss OVW, and he would do interviews with like WCW's The Stro and just a bunch of different names. I can't remember all of them, but he would do just interviews with the wrestlers and everything on there as well. And I just liked that he was doing it, and then I was like, as we started in like about 2017, and so that's when our first episode was. I think it was February of 2017, and so yeah, from there, that's when I was like, yeah, I just wanted. I love wrestling, and I what better way to uh, use my passion for wrestling than to start a wrestling podcast and interview people that I looked up to growing up as a kid, and then also people now that are getting into wrestling and past stars and whatnot. It's really cool to me.
All right. And have you who's some notable people that you have interviewed, or and or you can answer both. Who's someone that you enjoy interviewing? Like, I wouldn't say your favorite. That way, you don't have to really say they're my favorite, and someone messaged you, "Hey, I thought I was your favorite." But what's we'll say some. What's some interviews that you would urge people to probably? Hey, this is probably one of the best ones we got.
Oh wow, that's a good question. That's really kind of tough. Uh, I like a lot of my interviews. Really, the most ones I will say the most ones that I do like are with former WWE superstars. Just because that's so cool to be able to say. But then it's so cool to have um, well, I'll just throw out a name here, Billy Starks. Um, I got to interview her before she even was signed with AEW and Ring of Honor. And now look where she's at now. Uh, Now she's the inaugural Ring of Honor, first ever Ring of Honor women's TV champion, and so that's pretty cool right there. But then talking to with OVW guys like former OVW guys, current and former, like Doug Basham. Doug Basham was a really fun interview. Um, uh, Johnny Spade was a really fun interview. And we've become since that interview become great good friends. Chris Cage, former OVW star and former WWE star, he went by the name of Kalen Croft as part of the Dude Busters in WWE. He's one of my good friends to this day, and since having him on the podcast, we've become really close friends. Like, we text fairly often. Mike Knox was a really fun interview to do as well, that I think people should go check out. He's one of our earliest interviews. Um, Gosh, I've so many favorites for real. There's just Rick Victor or Victor, one half of the Ascension, former WWE star, and former OVW star as well, as he went by APOC in OVW. So yeah, that was really cool as well. There's just so many, and then talking to again the young up and coming stars. like TW3 and OVW currently, and then branching out. Cal Hero, he's someone that I definitely encourage fans to look out for, um, and I believe he's going to be. I predicted earlier this year that he would be OVW heavyweight champion by the end of 2024, and um, I believe he's well on his way to that. One of our past episodes is with a guy by the name of Superior Tony Evans, and he's getting a title shot for the heavyweight championship in OVW coming up in a couple weeks, and so yeah, it's really cool to just talk to the guys and gals as well. Some of the gals we've had on, girls we've had on Nikki Knuckles. She was in TNA. We've had her on. We've had Shauna Reed. We've had her on. Haley Shadows. Um, we actually had both of them on the same episode because there was a point where we were doing two interviews on one episode, and so splitting them up that way, and that was in our earlier days, and so that's really cool to just interview all these people, and I definitely encourage fans to go and check out all those episodes.
All right. So how many episodes have you? Yeah, you're probably like me, haven't kept track of it because it's hard to keep track. How many episodes ballpark do you think you've done so far?
So we're actually, and this is kind of sad to say, but we've had like kind of break periods between the years and whatnot. But we like just last month, just last month we hit our 100th episode. So we're about at 102, 103, something like that.
That's pretty impressive, man. Wow. And what aside from interviews, do you all go over like pay-per-view predictions, anything like that, or do you take a different route with your show?
Yes, we so originally it was just the interviews, and now we call our interviews spotlights. So we're spotlighting a guest each week, or maybe it's every other week. We try to keep it each week. Typically our spotlights come out on Mondays at like 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then our review shows, we typically review WWE, Raw, SmackDown, and then we review OVW. We kind of get into a little bit of AEW, but not much. A little bit of TNA, but not much. But yeah, we do our review shows, and they usually come out typically on Saturdays, usually Saturday mornings. And so yeah, we actually do predictions as well. We actually today's episode was a prediction, or no, not a prediction, but a recap show from WrestleMania, and so that's a good episode. Everyone should go check out as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's again, that's pretty cool that you do it. Now you have a co-host as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your co-host too, man.
Yeah, so his name is Brian, the 502 Ace Brian. We kind of both have our little nicknames. I actually didn't put my nickname on here tonight. I just used my real name and whatnot, or my shoot name. So yeah, we kind of have our work names and whatnot, but even though we're not technically in the business, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so Brian, he's actually been with the show since the latter part of last year, actually. I think it was around Thanksgiving, around Survivor Series. And I was looking for a new co-host. I had a co-host that joined kind of a little bit before him. So there was going to be three of us. But I won't go into detail with that. It just didn't end up working out. He kind of comes on periodically when he can, but he wasn't sticking out with it. But that's all I'll say about that. But Brian, he has really been really great for the show. I've enjoyed having him aboard and having him part of the team. And like it legit has been a team effort. Like we've experienced so much growth throughout the last year into this year. Uh, if you see the mic that I'm using, he was the one that I didn't buy this mic. He let me borrow the mic, and so I think I'm not going to put words in his mouth or anything, but I think he's probably going to end up letting me, I don't know, buy it from him or maybe possibly even have it. I don't know, but he wants to he's really putting forth effort to grow the show, and he's probably legit. I would say the best thing that's happened to the show as far as like with my co-host, and he's the co-host that has sticked with me. I've had co-hosts off and on throughout the tenure of the show, and but he's the one that's like really put in more dedication towards the show. And so shout out to him. Shout out to Brian.
Yeah, I know he wanted to come on the show, but he ended up doing something today. So maybe next time, because I'm definitely going to have y'all back, we'll get both y'all on here and we'll talk a little bit more about professional wrestling. But what would you say? You're talking about put forth effort and all that, and I urge anyone who has a show, even if you're starting small, put as much forth effort as you can, and basically grow your brand. But what would be your kind of like your 5-year plan? What do you want for the future of the Final Count?
So I know this is a kind of a far off thing, and I'm not saying like for fame or anything, but I'd like to see us grow because my grow to the point of getting like to see or getting not to see but to be on and get to interview WWE wrestlers, current WWE wrestlers, current TNA wrestlers, AEW, whatever that might be, and then also like doing like press conferences and being able to go to press conferences and being able to get media credentials for shows and whatnot. Love to travel and with the podcast and do like possibly live episodes and whatnot at shows, set up merch tables and different things. Um, yeah, and interview wrestlers and such at like conventions, comic cons, whatever that might be. Um, that's like the ultimate goal, and then along the way, um, just collaborate with different podcasts as well. That's something we enjoy and we do periodically with a podcast, with another podcast. And we've actually just recently connected with, including you as well, connected with another podcast. And so, yeah, that's kind of the goals, I guess, going forward.
Yeah, honestly, networking is, I think, pretty cool because whenever I started, I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to watch this. Maybe not. I was just scratching my head and I was like, oh God. Then I was able to find Cal from Friends of the Squared Circle. He introduced me to a lot of people. And I was like, okay, I didn't know there was a group of us. Okay, cool. It's kind of like our own little, I wouldn't say mob, but kind of like our own little community in a way. That's what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
like a little community. And shout out to there's actually we're live now. This first one I've shared on the Wrestlers podcast community. So shout out for the admin for approving this. So thank you guys for that. But yeah, man, it's how can I say, it's been wild. It really has. But excuse me, I'm so sorry. Whew. Mowed earlier today, and I think my allergies are starting to kick in. I hate that. It's that time of year, especially being from Kentucky.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What one day it could be 40 degrees, rainy and droggy. Then literally the next day it's like 60 or 70, sunny. Everybody's mowing grass as quick as they can before it happens again tomorrow.
True.
But you're in the state. You said you're from Louisville, Louisville area.
Yes.
Okay. So do you ever hang out with or go to any independent shows, try to interview with them there?
So I lately haven't been able to really. I've in the early days I did some going to shows and doing interviews. There is a promotion over in Indiana called Grindhouse Pro Wrestling, and we did in the early days did not interviews really over there, but kind of did some a little bit of work with them. That's also one of our goals is to get to more shows and get to do interviews at the shows. Because something else I'd like to do is, um, going to shows and like doing like getting wrestlers their um, thoughts on matches, beforehand and whatnot. So that's something else I definitely enjoyed doing and would love to do for our podcast as well.
Right. Because, like you said you interviewed Billy Starks before she signed to a major company, and you never know who you like. They could be in the independents right now working for promotions like Grindhouse. Then, like the next minute, they're on TV, and you're like, "Whoa, hey, I got to interview them."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so that's kind of cool. Um, but yeah, man, that's I've watched a few episodes. I was really impressed with it, and whenever you guys reached out, hey, do you want to be on the show? Sure, yeah, let's do it. I got really excited. Let's see, I think we got some comments here. Looks like Mayhem Media is here. Hello, Mayhem Media.
Yes, hello.
Thank you for joining. It's about time you. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. I'm not going to run down Mayhem Media like we run down Cal because poor Cal. He was supposed to. Mayhem can correct me if I'm wrong. Was supposed to be on a show not too long ago, and kind of ghosted poor Mayhem, or he didn't really ghost him. He completely forgot about it. So. Ah man, but Mayhem Media, I believe we're going to have them. Let me get my list here. No, don't copyright me. I'm not saying a certain wrestler who is currently signed with WWE or not AEW was with WWE. We're actually going to have them not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. They will be on here.
Nice.
So they will be here interviewing, and apparently my cat wants to say hello to everybody. Saba, if he sees a camera, dude, he's right there. Yeah, buddy, I know.
He's like, put me on.
Yeah, well, no. Funny thing is, he's afraid of this thing. I recently just got this,
Yeah.
and he thinks it's like the devil incarnate or something. He'll floofy tail and everything, and I'm like, what the heck, dude? But the final count. Where'd you guys get your logo made? I'm sorry, I'm kind of jealous of the logo.
So, we had a guy out of Indianapolis that actually made the logo for us. And so I was reaching out. I made a post one day because I just made like a generic logo at first. It was like a cartoon logo, and I just literally typed or edited it and said and wrote at the top of it the final count. Like typed at the top of it the final count, and someone was like, "You need a professional, a more professional logo." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you for the advice." And so I reached out, on different or on Facebook, I believe it was, and I was like, "I need a logo made. Is there anyone that can make a logo for our podcast?" And I found someone, and that was that, and I got the logo. I love it too. I love it.
Yeah, I seen that. I messaged you early because I realized I didn't have your logo for the little posters. I need to get better at that. But the little posters I work on, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have his logo. Oh goodness. But JD from Mayhem Media, he says he's happy he's made it. And Crander Q is a great guy, no slight. Well, everybody has their own opinion of Crander Q. I'm kidding. No, Crander Q is awesome. He really is. But yeah, man, I seen that. I was like, oh my goodness, that looks better than mine. That's a freaking great logo. And I was sitting and I was posting. I was like, I wonder where you got this. I got to ask that question. I have it in my notes here. One of last questions. Ask about logo. I just happened to look down. I was like, oh, there it is. But yeah, man, you've I've seen you. You are over 600 followers, right, on Facebook?
Yes, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
And do you also have other social media outlets that you want to go ahead and plug them in real quick?
Sure. We have, and thank you for that. We have obviously the Facebook. We have Facebook.com / the final count KY. We have Instagram, X, and TikTok, and they're all the same. So that's really going to be really easy as the final count KY. on both or on all three of those.
Okay. Let's see here. You need to. Do you guys have a link tree at all yet?
We don't. That's something I need to figure out. I've not don't. I kind of learning basically. So yeah,
When we get done here, it's super easy. Like because I
appreciate
was
it.
nervous. I was like, what? How do you create a link tree? Everybody has a link tree. What is this thing? Then my wife's like, you just do this. Oh, well, I'm. I feel like an idiot. Okay. Uh, so, so the final count has been running for how many years now?
So since 2017.
Wow.
So yeah.
So then there, and good friend of the show here, good friend of mine, Kirkpatrick. Hello, Kirk. How you doing? You still got the mullet, or have you shaved it off yet? I'm kidding. I like picking on old Kirk here. So you're currently at, you know what, people? They're at 42 subscribers, 600 on Facebook. Come on, y'all. We got to get them high up here. And it looks like Mayhem Media says, I'm building a website to be our centralized location to find us. Linktree can also be useful. So there you go. JD, if I have someone on here that's just kind of, getting their feet wet like I am, he does not care at all to help. So thank you, JD.
Appreciate it.
And Kirkpatrick said he will die with his mullet. I know, Kirk. I know. I just like picking on you. You can thank JD Thunder for that. JD Thunder is another legendary wrestler, good friend of the podcast.
Yes.
So, but yeah, man, it's been real fun. Any other time you want to come on, just let me know. I know. I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit here. Ryan was actually one of our first applicants to be part of the Joe Monroe Show experience, with helping us with shows and stuff. We're talking. We're working out some details there. So I just want to say publicly, thank you for your interest in that. You're definitely someone we are interested in because come on, you already have. Don't listen to JD. That's what Kirk said, but you definitely have experience with the podcast and stuff. So excuse me, I wouldn't mind having you work with me on the future if we can ever, get some stuff worked out there. And Mayhem Media has said, Ryan, you just got a new follower. Go follow us back.
I appreciate that.
Also reach out and come on us. So Mayhem Media. Yeah, go. JD's awesome. Go check out Mayhem Media. He may try to suck you into joining Mayhem Media, but that's hearsay. I'm kidding, JD. It looks like the Joe Panther III is here, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Panther III will be here on the 21st. So Joe, how are you doing, my friend?
What's up, Joe?
Oh, so you know Joe too. Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm actually gonna be. We got to work out a date to be on his podcast as well. So yep.
Yeah, I was. We just recorded the other day, so it was funny. We get on there. Hey Joe. Oh, hey Joe. How you doing, Joe? Doing pretty good, Joe. So yeah, definitely like these group of guys like Mayhem Media, the real dudes at ringside, great guys. You all are great, and honestly, it's because me being a former wrestler, that's how the locker room kind of is. It's kind of like a brother/sisterhood of people.
Yes.
And that's how I get that feeling with the networking with other podcasts. And I know there's a handful of us out there, but there's a bunch of us also out there that work together, trying to get everybody to, hey, there's more content out here. We're not just the only ones. Go check them out. So definitely, it's awesome. Of course, JD, he's going to say, I may try and recruit Ryan, but I'm definitely going to have a conversation with you about joining the Mayhem family. I'm building a media company, dude. Yes, JD, you are. And I don't know, we may have some talks too. You never really asked me, JD. I'm pretty sad about that. I'm kidding. But definitely, I would urge to go on JD's show. I'm actually going to be on Mayhem Media too. I think at the end of this month. I think.
Nice.
Yep. So he only Mayhem. There's different podcasts you can be on. The networking and love from that we have for each other is freaking amazing, and that's honestly why I decided to do this. Joe, I am sorry. I didn't know you did it this month as well, but we already had a conversation about that. Uh, but
And that's what I love about, not to cut you off.
no,
That's what
you're
I
good, bud.
love about the community, the podcasting community. And this has just happened for me recently, that we've been like getting um connected and networking with podcasts, and with more podcasts. I'll say it that way, because
Mhm.
there's one that we that's out of Pittsburgh that we're connected with. They're actually called Can Crushers. I want to shout out to them if that's cool. But
No, go ahead.
yeah, my buddy Mark over at Can Crushers. I don't know if he's watching or not, but he's a big supporter, and we he's actually featured on, him and his co-hosts are actually featured on our episode that was put out today. And so yeah, our WrestleMania recap. And but yeah, it's so cool to network with uh the community, the podcasting community. And I know, like Joe, on Instagram, he uh added me, or at least sent us a request to be part of a podcasters community chat on Instagram. And so I really like that. And it's really cool to be a part of that.
Where's my invite, Joe? I'm kidding.
Right?
And
Gotta show some
also,
love.
yeah, what the heck? I'm getting left out here. There's more to this stuff than I thought. Could be where I'm just named. But Mayhem Media also said shout out to Friends of the Squared Circle and Wrestling from the 313. Go hit them up and get on their shows. They will definitely have you on too, Ryan, to help you out as well. Great people. Mayhem Media, Friends of the Squared Circle, and Wrestling for the 313 are original followers. So they're the ones who've helped me out the most. So thank you, three. So anytime you have any questions, if I'm unable to answer them, or if Joe's unable to answer, the other Joe Panther, there you go, the third, is unable to answer, hit up Mayhem Media, Friends of the Squared Circle, or Wrestling from the 313. They won't mind at all helping you out, man. Great
Appreciate it.
people. They're great people. But we are past the 30-minute mark. I know a lot of people went over, but is there anything that you would like to say to the audience, and any closing remarks that you have?
Just first of all, thank you, Joe, for having me on again. And then definitely to the audience listening or watching, I definitely want to thank you all, and definitely encourage you. Go check out the Final Count. Give us a try. Give us a listen, a watch, because we are also on podcast platforms. So we have video and listening. So if you're driving down the road, you want to listen to a podcast, give us a listen if you want to. Watch us on YouTube as well if you want to. But in advance, I'd like to thank everyone for the support in advance, and shout out to all the other podcasters as well. Appreciate the advice, and definitely looking forward to connecting with you all.
Yeah, and you that was a good transition, because I'm here to announce, since we are on episode 8 of the Podcasters Appreciation Month, they will also be uploaded. I'm actually reactivating the Spotify account for the Joe Monroe Show, and all these episodes are going to be on there, hopefully either by tonight or tomorrow. I'm actually going to do that after this show. So be on the lookout on Spotify for there. We'll have all those first 8 episodes, and we will continue on putting more episodes on our Spotify page. So thanks, Ryan. That was good, man. That was a good transition.
You're welcome.
But until then, pro wrestling fans, as always, have a good night. If you're at a wrestling show and watching this, put your phone down. What are you doing? You should be watching the independent wrestling show you're at right now. And
Yes.
as always, have a great night. Stay safe, and always support professional wrestling. This has been Joe Monroe, my guest Ryan Mosley of the Final Count. Stay safe. Have a great night.